Hey there, how's everybody doing tonight? Welcome to Comic Book Radio. This is episode 63. My guest tonight is Adam LAWSON, and I'm your host, Peter Cimetti. So before we get started, I want to obviously say hi to you in the chat, but I also want to let you guys know tonight is a full moon. It's a full moon, which means it's a full moon special on the King Cryptid campaign. And that means that we have a limited edition item on there. Pretty cheap this month. It's a moonstone sticker. It's King Cryptid's moonstone. It's like a hollow foil, iridescent, cool looking thing. 2 inches wide by 3 inches tall. $3. Free shipping worldwide. And also, if you guys in the chat don't know where to go, it's kingcryptid.com, but I also have the link posted up right at the top of the chat, pinned right there. So thank you guys so much for those of you that have got one. If you already have the king size campaign subscription or the Supermoon bundle, you're already getting that moonstone sticker. And I don't know if you guys saw some of the t-shirts that I was posting with the all over print. I'm really hoping those come out good. I ordered some samples. If you don't know what I'm talking about, we'll keep it a surprise for now. If we could do it, what a game changer. I've been wanting to make those kinds of shirts for forever. And I think across the board, everybody at Alterna with their characters, I mean, we're going to go t-shirt crazy. These are going to be art shirts, not just t-shirts. It's going to look great. Really great. And if we do, we'll probably do a price tag of $30 to $35 on them, because they are more expensive to have an all-over print, front and back. But still, that's pretty affordable for an all-over print. And if they look anything close to as good as they look on the sample of it, they're going to be great. All right, so for those in the chat, we got Bear here. What's up, Bear? Thank you for joining us tonight. We got Ara in the chat as well. What's up? Manny also is here. Hey, Manny. Hope you're doing well. We got GJ Martinez here. What's up, GJ? Hope you're doing good. Having a good evening tonight. Blue Teddy Narrations. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Blue Teddy. We got What Geeks Do Network. Hey, how's it going? Thank you for being here tonight. Spicer's in the chat as well. Says, what's going on, my friends? Hope you're doing well, Brother Pete. I'm doing good, Spicer. Hope you're doing good, too. Been a busy day today, but a good day. Good day. Matt says, be like water, my friend. Hey, what's up, Matt? Thanks for joining the show tonight. We also have, look at that, the man right there. Gifted Rebels. That's Adam LAWSON right there in the chat. He's everywhere. I think he was doing a show, too, right before this one. Look at him, man. Hustling. Bringing it. Fits literally what I want to talk with him about tonight is the attitude it takes to be an independent creator. You got to have the right attitude, and Adam's got a hell of a good one. Hell of a good one. Let's see here. What Geek says full moon got my kids acting nutty. It's a blue moon, too, and a super moon. So it's closer to the Earth than it normally is. Appears a little bit larger. So if we get a little crazy tonight, forgive us. Ara says, I bought the Moonstone sticker. Thank you very much, Ara. Appreciate that, man. Matt says, King Cryptid, great comic. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, and if you guys out there haven't gotten 5 to 9, please feel free to do so. It's $15 for the 3 issues, and I sign them. And if you missed the first 4, those are on there, too. So you can get 1 to 9. 5 to 9 will be released next year around May, June, around there. See, Grape says, hey, Pete, just recently discovered your channel and company because of your interview with Clownfish. Been watching ever since. Just picked up a ton of Alterna, too. Looking forward to them. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Man, that means a lot. Thank you. And I'm glad you've been enjoying and watching these shows, too. Trying to bring you guys some really good guests and have some good conversations on here. It's important. Dr. Mask, what's up? Thanks for being here tonight also. And GJ says, Adam is the man. Which brings me to this. We got to bring on the man of the hour. One Mr. Adam LAWSON. There we go. Oh. Hey, look at him with the short box there.
Dude, I just had to rep, you know what I mean? This was such a dope box when I got it. Love me some King Cryptid. And I like that you have the full moon. You're tying your IP back around to reality, because it's good. I got the first four. I read them. I'm that unique person that backs and then reads quickly, because
Much
I actually love
appreciated.
them. Yeah, no,
Man, oh
dude, come
man.
on. It's super exciting, and I know you were passionate about it for so long. This story, right? And there's something when you kind of you're talking to somebody like, oh, this is that project for them. This is the one that's been under the skin that like they just can't wait to get their fingers into. Right? It feels like this could be that
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
Though
That's
I may be mistaken, but it feels that way.
it's the story that I need to tell, not a story that I just want to tell, or that, oh yeah, I think this might sell, this might do well. This is like, no, this has to come out of me, otherwise it's going to be
Yeah.
surgically removed from me one day as a gigantic tumor.
Laced with regret. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Don't let that fester inside. When you have that just eating away at you, and you need to make that become a reality, those kind of ideas, as stories, art, whatever it may be, get that out into the world. And I'm so grateful that people were supportive of it, and not only supportive, but then when they got it, like yourself and like so many others in the chat too, that you guys have really enjoyed it. It means a lot, and there's so much more to come. So I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you guys are too. But enough about me.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, but interesting format though, where you did each issue as like its own standalone.
Yeah,
That's a cool. That's cool. I haven't seen that as much, is where it's like that. But I like that angle.
Yeah, it's to me it's classic comics, and it's classic storytelling too. I think we've gotten away from a lot of that over the years, and I get why we dipped our toe into more of the long form storytelling and kind of the decompressed stuff. I get that, but I feel like with everything that becomes trendy, everyone starts being like the lemming that wants to jump off the cliff too, and there's no reason to do that. There's no reason to abandon things that worked as you try something new. You could do both.
I know.
So that's what I love about it. Yeah. I love that because think about everything that we grew up with. Whether it was comics or TV. Hell, even movies now are becoming this long form cinematic universe crap that's turning into homework. Yeah, it's turning into homework, not just this escapist thing. You gotta go like, okay, I gotta remember, where's everyone at again? All right.
Yeah, I know. It's a little exhausting, and it's like I feel like the MCU is like the perfect realization of like, bro, this has gotten to be way too much work on my part. Like, it was fun for the first handful of movies, and it was cool. Oh, they're making comic book movies,
and they're all coming together for this, event, and then, and that was great. That was exciting, and the build-up was organic.
Right?
Yeah,
and it felt really authentic and like well done, and they got incredible performers. And now all of a sudden you're like, bro, I'm not following 4 TV shows, 7 movies a year. I'm not doing that, bro.
Yeah,
I can't. I don't know what you think I have. I actually have a life and other things I need to do. I can't just suck in your stuff. Yeah, so I'm with you. And then it kind of gets, the story then just starts to get thinner and thinner. It's all those.
Yeah, and then they become more and more scared of making the characters have their own unique voice and theme, because that's what I think made the first one so special, putting all of them together, and they were different thematically, and the message was different across the board with those characters. The lessons learned were different, and then all of a sudden they start condensing into this universe feel, and everything has a sameness to it, and they don't want to go outside of that. Everything is like, whatever works, just keep it, leave it working, and everyone must be the same. It's like, but what made it stronger before was when they all were bringing these different aspects and tones and personalities,
Right. And I feel like, Millar has been kind of ranting against the multiverse, right? That like, kind of like ruins any storytelling.
Yeah.
Because
the thing he created.
Yeah, I know, and he realizes that he let that genie out, and he's kind of regretting it now. He's like, wait,
he's like Zeus looking at his bastard children,
He's like, wait, that's not what I meant it for it to do. Because as soon as there's 5 versions of the same person, there's no risk anymore. Nothing means anything. Oh, it doesn't really matter if Spider-Man dies, because in Universe 2075, he's doing great. Oh, and so it's like, so nothing really means anything then. We just kind of float. It's
Totally, yeah.
crazy.
It is crazy, yeah. And that's what I love about indie stuff is that it feels like every single creator is making a universe. Like people look at it and go, I want a universe. I want to whatever that would mean. But I look at it
Yeah.
and I go, well, there's the Adam Lawson universe. There's
Right.
whatever creator you could point to and say like that's the universe that they're making. That's a universe unto themselves, because honestly at any moment all of a sudden the creator could, like, years down the road, go, guess what? Here's a book that ties everything together. And some
Yeah.
people are already doing stuff like that. Like Graham Nolan's doing stuff like that with his Nolanverse.
Totally. Which I love that. And speaking of Millar, he just did that with Big Game, right? He tied it all together in his own worlds, because I kind of view him kind of after Civil War. Like I see him from Kick Ass on as like, that's the real man.
Yeah.
And I love it in the Big Game. I don't know if you're following this, but he's actually doing the opposite. He's imploding his universe. He's killing it off. It's the craziest thing. He's like, actually, I'm just ending these characters. I'm actually doing the opposite of expanding. I'm killing them all off. So kind of an interesting right? Right? Kind of an interesting reaction.
I think he'll stick to it too. Yeah, I think he'll stick to it.
So. Yeah, he does. He's got no reason not to. He's got a great deal with Netflix. He's not going anywhere. He's gonna be fine. Yeah.
And that's what I love about the indie stuff, because it feels like you're getting the official vision, because you are from the creator. And not to discredit a lot of the great work over the years that has happened with some of the characters, and but obviously the wheels are falling off on the mainstream, because they're not even just comic companies anymore. They haven't been for years, in some cases decades. So it's, if they were just probably focused on the comics themselves and the characters, it'd probably be a different story, and they'd be way more, all right, let's make sure we're doing right by these things because this is what we have.
Right.
But once it turns into like a subdivision of an entertainment company that belongs to a massive multi-billion-dollar conglomerate, it turns into like, we do whatever I guess they want us to do, and that's kind of the sad reality.
That's right. It's what happens, right? A CEO says we're going this direction, and then that's just what it is, and it doesn't really matter. You're a non-profitable line item anyways. Print division, you're a payback to legacy. They're not really paying attention to you. I know I sold multiple TV shows to Warner Brothers. I work in film and TV, and they are like confused on the film side that what the print guys are even like. What are those? No, pay attention to those guys. We are doing this thing.
And it really should be like one hand washes the other. Why do you think it's not really that way? It seemed like at one point in time it was.
Yeah, and now it's just because ultimately you also have these. All these feuds going on, right? Because what happens, Warner Brothers gets bought by AT&T, right? And then AT&T runs into this problem where they don't have enough, 5G cell towers. So they need $30 billion, but they're too deficit financed. So what do? They sell it to Discovery, do a merger, bump their stock value, sell off, and buy towers to compete with T-Mobile because they just bought Sprint, right? So a thing that has nothing to do with comics just flips everything.
Tremendous
and now then Discovery
impact.
Exactly. Huge impact. And now Discovery's taking over, and they're really, they're an unscripted company. And one of the reasons they're taking over is because AT&T hated working with the people at Warner Brothers so much. So they said, we're going to sell you to somebody that's smaller, and now they're the boss.
Wow. Everything feels like how you're describing it. It feels like the comic books have become the kids of multi-divorced parents.
That's exactly right. So now Discovery's running.
This is mom and dad now, and now that's mom and dad now, and that's mom and dad now, and you're like, oh, okay.
Okay, I guess. Yeah, so it's just like, so it's pretty hard to, and granted, not saying there aren't people, creators and writers and artists who are trying to be really authentic in those arenas, and I think there are.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Plenty of individuals who are like, dang, and like any of us, they got to pay the bills, they got to eat, so they got to go where they got to go. But it's pretty hard to preserve any sort of authenticity when that's the environment above you, right? Like, hi, sorry, your series got canceled. Why? Oh yeah, because T-Mobile bought too many 5G towers. So this is all things getting, you know what I mean? Like, Yeah, it's like, there's a problem on Saturn, so you just got changed. No matter what you did, you just got dumped. I had two TV shows at the CW, and they recently got bought, and they threw the shows away, and they threw away the whole scripted department. They just said, "Oh yeah, we're not doing this anymore." So you could have you could have a great scripted, DC TV show, and they just went, "Oh no, we changed our minds about this." So, anyways, enough of that. But I agree with you. There's something authentic, right? When it's like when Tyler Kirkman did his Final Boss book, I was excited to back that. And so he's an artist I really respect, and it's like I'm interested in what Tyler wants to do, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Or when Sean Gordon Murphy, artist I love, did his book Plot Holes that he crowdfunded. It's like I want to see what's in Sean's head, without an editor from DC, sitting behind it, right? What does that look like? And it's cool, right?
And an unfiltered, but hopefully not unedited experience.
That's right. There's a difference between those two things.
There's a difference.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And the unfiltered is what's exciting, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if are you a Chainsaw Man fan, Peter?
I dig the look of the character, but I haven't ever read it or anything like that.
I love that. I love that book because I feel like it is truly fearless storytelling, in the same way I felt Berserk was. And I'm not saying it's Berserk because I don't think anything is Berserk, but where like there's somebody who's just saying, I'm breaking all the rules. I have this story. It doesn't make any sense that I'm the one telling it, but I am, and I know it in a way that no one else can know it, and it feels like fearless storytelling, right? And I really appreciate sort of the Japanese angle of like they have there's sort of a conscious effort to kind of preserve that, and it's cool, right? When you flip through those pages on Berserk, right, you're like, this is just Kentaro. He's just like, I'm just gonna throw my heart out on the page after page, right? And anyways, for me, that's worth paying money for.
Yeah. No, I hear you, man. And I think we're seeing that attitude. We're seeing that kind of a thing really come to the forefront. And I think we're really seeing it too, because we're managing to utilize technology in a way, hopefully before it puts us out to pasture. We're managing to utilize it in a way that's advantageous for us to be independent and get our stuff out there. Whereas before, there really wasn't. It was kind of like their way or the highway. You went underground as an indie.
Yeah.
But now there's indies at the forefront, man. Like indies everywhere. It's what fills my feed. I mean, other than the fact that I'm blocked by 90% of the industry.
Yeah, I mean,
but that's neither here nor there. But it's amazing to see the amount, and I've been doing this for like 17 going on 18 years, and I've never seen over the past like 2 to 5 years this like explosion build. I've never seen another time within the past 18 to 20 years where that's occurred, where it just feels like at least it feels like to me, and it might even be that there's more independent creativity occurring than corporate creativity occurring in terms of product being made and stories being told. Every time I see it's a new character that catches my eye, or it's a new story premise that sounds interesting, it's indie every time.
Totally. I don't think there's any question. It's because it's kind of like what Korean film and TV is to the entertainment industry. I don't know if you know this, but a good portion of unscripted television and TV shows that you watch is actually just Korean TV reformatted, right? It's just like The Masked Singer, that's just pulled out of there. It's because they're the Wild West. We're not, unfortunately, anymore in film and TV, and it's a bit of a shame. But I agree that you're saying that's where the action's at. It's like I picked up this book, Heavy Metal Drummer from Sumerian, right? Like what this awesome is. It's like this drummer in a band that gets like this alien invasion, and he's got a battle axe that he like pulls out of his closet to hunt aliens down. It's like, it's so freaking fun, this book, and it's like just an over the top kind of craziness. These aliens taking over these old ladies, and like he's hunting them down with a battle axe in the modern day, and it's like the fun of what that is. Like I agree, India is so cool because it's like, dude, you're gonna get to find that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm with you here.
There's nothing like it. And what I was mentioning before the show got started, that you were on a show previously, right? Earlier today,
Yeah,
like just right before the show. Yeah,
yeah.
and that in itself, that's the attitude that you need. That's the work ethic you need. That ability to be like, yeah, I'll book 2 or 3 shows today and talk about my stuff totally, and
Yeah.
that passion comes across, that energy comes across, the excitement for you to not just want to share your story, but that you care so much that you're making it and you want other people to enjoy it and experience it. That's what also comes across that you don't get from the corporate side of it. If anything, it's so low key. It's awkward marketing half the time, because they're trying to mimic, I think, the energy and excitement and the sincere joy that's coming from the indie creator. Most indie creators anyway. And so what you're doing and you're bringing to it, I mean, has that always been your mindset on things, or is that something that you've trained yourself to get used to? Okay, this is how it is.
Well, yeah. I come from film and television, right? And my whole life, I've been able to work long hours, right? Like when I first started as a first assistant director in Los Angeles, the average shift is 14 hours, right? That's a standard working shift for an assistant director. And so you just built a world where you were still running when like people were checking out. You're like, we're just warming up, bro. 8 hours? What is that? We're just getting warmed up. We still got 6 hours of real heat to do. And 14 for years and years and years of that. And you just realized what it took for people to do something special, right? I remember I was running both units on a movie once. And some nights I would work one shift, shoot, and through the night, and the sun would come up, and I'd jump onto the other unit, sleep a couple hours, and hop the units, right? And it's like, and you're like, yeah, and because you were in it for the love of the game, right? Like you were here because you wanted to make something that could outlive you. That you wanted to make something that a kid at home could watch and be like, be inspired by,
to
right?
Leave a legacy.
That's right. You were trying to make something, because it was just money. You'd have gone to Wall Street. My best friend, and I went to Hollywood. He went to Wall Street. He's richer than I for sure. It's like I would have gone that way, but there's something else that we want. And and when I look at these, I look at picking up these comics, like when I'm here with the Kill Journal, it's like, what's so cool is I get to make this one without, Warner Brothers or Google or any of the studios I've worked for, kind of sitting over me, right? I get to make my story, like you're saying, not unedited, but unfiltered, right? Because everybody needs editing, right? Yeah. But that you then, and to be able to taste something where you're like, man, I'm making this thing, and it's in my heart and head. I know my weaknesses, so I got to have the right team around me so I don't make mistakes in telling this story, but I get to tell it as I want it, right? And that's really exciting, Pete. And what people don't quite realize is how rare that is, right? Like how unique of an environment it is. Because even guys making big movies, I mean, if you think the directors on a Marvel movie are like doing what they want, you're confused.
They just shoot at the hip.
That's not how. In fact, Phil and Lord.
Do that. Yeah. Okay.
We're directing a Star Wars film. The guys who did comedy directors, right, did the Lego movies. They brought them in to direct the Star Wars movie. Disney fired them. Directors at that scope. They said, no, guys, you're like improvising stuff. No, that's not going to work.
And that's what made so many things great, though, right?
Totally. That's their gift. They got booted off the film. Those are not chumps. They had a huge history of very successful films. They got booted. So if you think that there's like these guys just like, we do whatever we want, I mean, maybe James Cameron, maybe him, but kind of anybody else, no. So it's really, so for me, Peter, like this, like chance to be in this world is pretty special, and to be able to have people like you who want to share that with you, people in the chat that are rad, that show up with their own free time, like, oh, I'm gonna log in and talk to these guys. It's like, this is pretty sacred stuff here, guys. You don't get this all that often. Yeah. And so you should, one, you should come prepared, and two, you should really enjoy it. So
yeah, it's a special thing. It really is. And I
It's
hope we
crazy.
never get to a point where it feels like any of us start taking it for granted. I
Yeah.
definitely don't take any of it for granted. I haven't. Not one day goes by. I'm always like, wow, man, I'm blown away by it. I'm blown away by the support, the enthusiasm. When someone sends me in an email, I could have gotten like 100 others that were just like it, talking about how much they loved it. That new one comes in, and I'm just it's like you're in love all over again. You know, it just fills you with like the creative butterflies. It's amazing, incredible.
Yeah, that's what it is. And I agree with you. So there's two things, right? Like to accomplish anything, it doesn't any artistic endeavor, like if you're not going the extra mile, you probably just don't get to play the game, right? Because it's unlikely you will make something that really deserves to stand the test of time, right? Like I was looking at The Hard Goodbye from Frank Miller the other day.
Hmm.
And I look at what Miller poured into those pages, right? And you're like, he went all in. He went as all in as you could go all in. You know, when you think about like all those bricks he did, brick, all traditional, you know what I mean, right? And you think, wow, and because he just pushed it so much harder than the guy next to him, um, it's that's really, in my mind, it's like, that's how you stand out. So like you're saying, it means back-to-back streams. It means that like the kids and my wife go to bed and then you work for 2 more hours rewriting, right? What that means is like you're on set. I'm on set for a commercial. And I sneak out for a few minutes to approve art pages. You know what I mean, from an artist, and like give feedback, because otherwise the game's just, unfortunately, there's just too many players. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
is it, and if it,
and what's the
you
point
know what I
of
mean?
even
Just like,
playing it? You
yeah,
know, because
that's right.
at the end of the day, you're really playing yourself. You're
That's
really
right.
up against yourself. You know, I see
Yeah.
people out there all the time. They're comparing themselves to someone else, and they're miserable. Don't do that. Um,
Yeah.
Compare yourself to yourself. So look at like where
Yeah.
you were a month ago, a year ago, 5 years ago, whatever that may be.
Yep.
Now the thing
Totally.
is, if you don't get started, you got nothing to compare to. So get started.
Yep.
Get started as soon as you possibly can. And getting started doesn't mean like go just dive into it, make a comic book. No, I mean
Quit
start.
job, go. Yeah, that's what that is. Yeah.
Yeah. Start sketching. Start writing down your ideas. Start turning those
Yeah.
ideas into paragraphs. Those paragraphs into pages. Start turning that sketch into a more formed drawing. Learn as much as you possibly can. That's also getting started. If anything, that's truly getting started. I see too many people that want to just dive right into the process of making product, and they haven't had a chance to fall in love with creating yet.
Yeah, because that's the thing about it is I often talk about this with people, that it's like, um, when I was on set, when I first started in the business, my first movie I worked on was a movie called Think Tank, right after Napoleon Dynamite, and we had like $180,000 to make this movie, right? And it's no money. I mean, it was 20 years ago, so it was more than it is now. I guess it was 21 years ago. And I remember talking to somebody who had achieved a lot, an actor who'd gone a lot and was doing a guest star moment. And he said, here's the thing, dude, you don't love the movie at 180,000, you're not going to love it at 180 million, because it's not actually any different. Now, all of a sudden, you have a bigger actor with bigger problems. You have bigger sets with bigger problems. The problems have never gone away, dude. They just get bigger. And so if you don't love the game right now, you should just quit. Because if that's what this is, if you don't like playing the guitar, don't bother being a rock star, because you need to love the guitar so much you're cool to do it 6 hours a day. If you just really want like this to be on stage and have women love you, then you're not really it's cool. You do something else, right? So I
Yeah.
think that there's that. You got to kind of check yourself. One is, do you like, whatever your craft is, if you're a writer, if you're an artist, you're a letterer, or you're something of all three, do you love that? Like, I'm somebody who letters my own books, like you, Peter, right? And I letter my own books. It's like, I remember I was talking to my buddy who's another TV guy. He's like, Adam, who does comics. He's like, why do you letter your own books? Are you trying to save $20 a page? I was like, no, because I want to lay my hands on it. And it's my last chance to rewrite. And it's my chance to actually put my fingerprint on it, versus just, I wrote a script, it gets passed to somebody, they do a thing. It's your chance to create. And so there I am at night after my wife and child go to bed, lettering my book, right? Because that actually the process of lettering is exciting, right?
Yeah,
And I love
absolutely.
and I it's fun, right? And not only that is it's like, am I telling the story the best way? I think you did a really great job with the way you lettered Cryptid. You provided really such a nice character in it. Like you could really sort of
Thank you,
hear
man.
the sound of people, and there was the tone of the way you kind of had the boxes sort of dripping away, and you'd have certain dialogue moments. You could hear it because of the way you'd put that into it. And
Yeah, with the placement, the design of the balloon, everything like that. Yeah.
totally. And the
Yeah,
way you built your sound
it's the
effect.
visual voice of the writer, you know?
Totally.
And I get it where people hand it off to a letterer, but I always encourage writers, if they're able to, absolutely do your best to learn how to letter and to learn effectively what that would mean too. Because it's not just put the stuff on the page and then call it a day. Place it the way the eye follows from panel to panel, even to isolate certain parts to draw attention somewhere else. There's all kinds of tricks to it, but you really have to do it and study and pore over what came before to get
That's
it,
right.
and then incorporate something a bit of your own element to it. And you do a
Yeah.
good job though with your lettering too, man. It's not like you don't
Okay.
either. Yeah, you do a really solid job. So you don't need to
I mean,
hire a letterer. You're good.
well, it means a lot. Because I want to, I'm trying, and in a way, like you exercise a little bit of a skill, like you're learning something. Yo, Luke. And I feel like, but once again, it's because you love it, right? You love it too, Peter. And because you love that, this is what you were meant to do. Because that, like late at night, hitting a deadline, whatever's the case, you love it. And I think like when I was doing the Kill Journal, right? Like speaking of that lettering, right? There was this feeling of like, how can I make the sound of this book come to life, right?
Hold on, let me put you full screen.
And you can see kind of there's, so these are the speech balloons. Let me see if it'll hold focus there. You see, these are the thought balloons for Finch, for the boy, right? See, I wanted to build the boxes sort of broken and lowercase lettering because he's this kid who got raised like an animal, and has this low self opinion of himself and is shy, but he was essentially raised on the Texas-Mexico border in the dog fighting pits. One day a dog didn't show and his dad threw him in the pit, and he was tearing pit bulls' throats out with his teeth. And so he kind of lived and raised like an animal. So it's like, how would his inner monologue look, right? And so in comparison to, St. George, who has his inner monologue, right? That, like, how does his feel, right? How do I separate his sounds from him, with also keeping sort of this organic look of the book, right? Because Maxie's art, is all traditionally done. He's his own inker, right? He just goes red lines straight to inks type of artist, and like, can it feel like it's a part of it? And then also, like, I like to roto in the sound effects. You know what I mean? So you cut the layer out, slip it under.
Oh
So
yeah,
it feels like right. So
like
it feels
it's
like
part of the art. It's part of the scene. It's in there in the environment, not just laying on top of it.
Right. And there's some moments for that works, but in general, if you can bake it underneath, right, it feels like, in this panel here where it's him screaming, right, you want to bake it on, because you feel like it's coming out of him, right? How do we, like you're saying, how do you visually say, create that sound for somebody? And anyways, so, but I think that you're right, that there's a craft to that, and that gets me excited. So
yeah, no, man, I hear you. It's the weirdest thing to explain to people who don't really understand in comics.
Yeah, right.
Getting excited about lettering.
Yeah, it's like, oh, bro, it's because you just haven't done it. You know what I mean? And you, because there's a craft there. And there's this is Mr. Crispy, right? This is the revenant they're hunting, right? And that's like, once again, I need to figure out how to make him. What does his speech balloon look like, right? for somebody of like him, right?
Mm.
So I tried to build that sound to help create. It's a whole layer of your characters. When you think about it, it's one of the things that people look at even almost more than the art, because generally speaking, people follow a book, box to box, balloon to balloon, and then
Yeah.
and then soak the art in. You know what I mean? Because you're chasing the story in the art, and it's what drives your
Absolutely.
eyes. So it's like, boy, that's a missed opportunity if it's just.
Yeah. Spend a lot of time looking at that lettering.
Yeah.
Don't cut corners.
Okay. No.
There's it's easily, I've said it before, but when it comes to submissions that I've received over the years, that would easily be the number one problem area is the lettering. It's so often overlooked. It's just, just get the words on the page and that's it. And I've seen some terrific art get just ruined, turned ugly by the lettering. Whether it was the placement, the font choice, a mix of both, how things were being pointed, it creates a confusing experience instead of an immersive one. And you spend more time wrestling with how do you read and enjoy the story as opposed to just sitting back and getting absorbed into it.
Right. And there's also, when you say there's a graphic design component, right? Because like when you look at this page here and the way it's laid out, you need to think from a graphic design, get back and just look at it without even reading it. Does it balance itself? Does it weigh itself correctly? Right. So that when you just see the words without actually reading them, like that they feel like they fit, like the puzzle pieces, like you're saying, you feel like it has proper weight. And it's so it's a big thing. And I think also too, I agree with you in some ways. I also recommend it to writers because I think sometimes there can be some good resentment between artists and writers, because writers, generally speaking, it's less time in far as hours to create the pages, right? Though sometimes if in the mainstream system, the writer's been on it for like 6 months before the artist shows up, pitching and rewriting, and like sometimes that process can get
if they're the project lead. Yeah,
exactly. And so sometimes that maybe not always, but sometimes there can be that resentment. But when you're doing your own lettering and the artist knows that, they know you're sitting on a page too with them, and I think there's something nice about that camaraderie.
Oh yeah. I mean, I find too when I'm lettering with the books that I'm being mindful also of the art. So I want to balance it out, but I want to make sure that it's framing the art. But not in a way that it's creating an additional border upon the border. But you get what I mean in terms of when there's art on the page, and usually the construction would be, especially within American comics, left to right, and the first person speaking on the page is left, and that kind of a thing. But that's why I love lettering my stuff, and if anything, I also retroscript. So I describe the scene, but then I afterwards tweak certain things. So the writer, the artist is not even aware half the time of the full entire dialogue and captions and thoughts. So they're aware of the script and the story, but this way they're free to go ahead and however you visualize it best, and then I'll work that in there. Instead of it's always like the slave to the left to the right, and the first person who speaks is on the left, and so on and so forth, and then all of a sudden the whole visual is now the slave to the writing, as opposed to me going, no, this is comics. I am subservient to the art, and that's what makes it great. It's a visual medium. So adding that element in there, it really helps, and it really makes the story more cohesive, and I think more enjoyable too. We're going to take a quick... Yeah, man. We're going to take a quick little break, just a minute or two. You're watching Comic Book Radio. This is episode 63. My guest tonight is Adam LAWSON. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Just about a minute or two. Stay right there. back. Welcome back to Comic Book Radio. My guest tonight is Adam Lawson. And thank you, Metal Movies and Brewskis, for putting that link up there for the Kill Journal Finch dossier. And now a little bit more about the Kill Journal, Adam. What was the inspiration for this story?
I think there was, from the very beginnings early on, there was always this feeling about, what happens to these survivors at the end of the horror movie, right? After you're the last person standing, you're left in the mud and blood, your friends are all dead. What happens to them, right? And I think that there is this feeling of, because these are really, if you were to put it into the real world, you'd be unbelievably traumatized, beyond soldier in a war traumatized, right? Because you were unprepared for it. And then how do you overcome that? And that's the thing that started the idea of it, right? And then I got thinking, well, what would you try to do to gain control over your life, right? Because you feel like you have lost all control. And that's what started me going down this pathway of then, the only thing that you could do to try to solve this problem is to go and hunt these revenants down, right? And I think with any survival situation, there's always this question, right? Are you a victim, right? Or a survivor, right? And so these people at the end of this horror movie who have nowhere left to go end up on the steps of St. George's Church here, right? And he's offering them a way to cope. And his solution is revenge. Join his crazy band of misfits to go and hunt these revenants down. So you have a world full of both heavy violence and then intense vulnerability, because you have these fragile people trying to repair their lives while hunting something that could kill them at any moment. And those are sort of the early thoughts of it that then got woven together right into this tale of hunting these revenants and all the nuanced characters and what filled it up. But I think that's what kept resting with me, is like, what do you do after that, right? After you've been essentially completely burned down, if you will.
Man, oh man. Were you always a horror fan growing up?
I was always a horror fan. I think the movie, I'd seen horror movies, and I didn't settle on it until the movie Scream. In fact, until I was there.
When it was calling the tropes out?
Yeah, and that movie, it spun it on its head for me. And Kevin Williamson's script and Wes Craven's direction, he built something really, really, really special. And it really stood out to me. And then that sort of got me going into this world of horror. And that's what took me down that pathway. And then what I started to love about it was such a great place to explore themes and deeper struggles, right? Because it was so hyper real. It was almost like modern fantasy in a way, right? There's no Jason. Jason Voorhees is clearly a construct of the supernatural, right? There's no human like him. And it's like, just by taking it that one step into the fantasy, it allowed you to actually play with reality and with themes that sometimes hard to find in other genres. So that's really kind of crossed the line for me. And then this one, and I think on the campaign there on Indiegogo, you can get this book, which is this foil cover, collectors. They'll be numbered and signed. It's cool. But there was also a campaign I did previously for the for the original graphic novel. It's 132 pages. You can add it on to your order here, or you can just get this on its own. And Jason Krager did my art on that, and he crafted this very sort of raw, visceral book. And Maxie Dallow came in to do this book because there was a mini story in this one that this sort of gets its inspiration from. So I wanted to continue the art from that. But in dealing with the realm of horror and speaking of building something special, I like the idea, Peter, of building a collectible item, right? Just like you do your short boxes, they're cool, right? It's a rad collectible piece that you walk away with.
Something fun and special, and yeah.
And I want to do that with this book. When I go into my local comic shop and I buy the 1 in 100 cover, the 1 in 20 cover, those cost you like 20, $30 sometimes, But I was like, well, how can I be more special than that? Can I, make foil? Can I number them on the outside, sign them? So it's like the people who are the most faithful people, like the people in the chat, the guys here out on the edge with us, right? Can walk away with something that nobody else can get. This book does have a retail publisher that will take it into retail, but not before you guys get yours. That doesn't happen until next year, and these are shipping out right after the campaign ends because they're all done. There was
That's great, man.
something about creating a special collector item that really I loved. Peter, I like that. I like the way that felt when you walked away from a campaign. Like, yeah, I got that special something.
Yeah.
So,
that's awesome, man. Is this correct that there's only 2 perks on here?
It's the 2 perks. So the thing about it, because these books are numbered, it's a limited amount. So I don't have it all broken down. So the way it works out is you buy this, and then you can add on the T-shirt, you can add on the patch, you can add this guy on, the original graphic novel, which is only $15, 132 pages, or you can get just the original. So it's like you can get this, or you can get this and then add on this and the other items. And I like that. I like it. It's just 2 tiers. You click and then you add on. I don't know if everybody is as dialed into that, but I know you do add-ons a lot, Peter. And to me, it's so much simpler because you can kind of build what you want out of it.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
No, man, oh man, when it comes to really streamlining a campaign, I'm going to be diving into that pretty soon because we're kind of restructuring with alternatives. We're going to start doing monthly campaigns with various merch and things like that. I guess this is the first place I'm even announcing this. But I'll have more details about that soon. Just to get something out every single month, short, quick, sweet campaigns, very focused, and then fulfilled. And then on to the next one. And nothing that's insane. And then the creators are going to start doing campaigns for their own books to fund larger chunks of their books and their stories, one at a time.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
that's cool.
I guess you guys are getting the scoop. I haven't announced that anywhere yet, but I feel like with Adam, I can release such details.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But man.
I like the way that is, and so that people, it's real, it's clean and simple on the campaign.
Yeah.
I
like that too, and I think people will like that. Obviously, people are supporting your campaign. You got 2 perks on there, and it's doing well, especially for that. Holy smokes, considering, and it's a book that again you're building upon what you previously did too with the Kill Journal, which is great.
Yep.
And I want to see, and I think we will see more things like that as we move along. This stuff takes time, and I see that as a criticism a lot all the time within the indie sphere of people just, I don't know where they get off, but comparing like a 60 to 70-year-old franchise to someone that is just doing this for 2 years in terms of getting their books out. And they're like, no one even knows what yours is. It's like, well, give me 70 years. Let's follow each other back and see what's what at that point in time.
Billions actually spent in marketing and advertising over those 70 years, right? Like,
yeah.
These are multi-billion-dollar franchises that have spent, just in one movie alone, they're spending like 70 to 80 million.
That among any criticism I've ever seen levied at indie, when it's thrown into the whole like, well, no one knows what it is. It's or the idea of you haven't been able to build this universe up yet within what you're doing with your own series, and you need time. You need time for that, And seriously, give people a few decades, and then let's come back and talk.
Well, and isn't it also cool, I think, as somebody, like, what I'm excited about, like, I think of Blood Realm, Rob's book, which I love. It's like, he's building that thing, and what's cool is you get to be there while he's putting the bricks down. Like you, instead of like wishing it was already Batman or already Game of Thrones in his case, it's like what's cool is like you get to see the bricks. You're there for the ride, so that when someday it is something really great, you're like, yo, dude. I was at that Nirvana concert when there was 12 people in the crowd. I was there.
Were you truly there?
No, I wasn't to that. I wasn't to that. But I've often thought about that, you know, when I was a teenager and going to like small bands, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Indie bands, you're like, you know, I never happened to be that 1 in 12 at a Nirvana concert. You know, I was in Utah, so Nirvana wasn't there, but there was that feeling. It's like, dude, maybe you're at that show. That then it becomes
and you
something
feel
else.
something with some creators, especially that are on the that are up and coming. You feel like there's a future here. There's something. There's a legacy being built, and I'm seeing it right now. And it, you know, and maybe you're at the signing and you're the only person that showed up, or maybe you're on the live stream and you're one of the 5 people watching, or maybe you know, whatever it may be, you're supporting the crowdfunder and you're one of the only 20 backers. You know, but you can recognize that if this person is committed and passionate and brings it and continues to build, a couple of years, it's going to be a lot more people paying attention to what they're doing.
I think so. And I think that and that's what's cool, is we get to be here to be at that stage of it and to kind of relish in that we're there at the beginning when it was fresh, you know, when Facebook was the Facebook, right? And I think, anyway, so I'm loving it, and I love what I love backing campaigns. Like I love getting it. Like I got Roquefort's book, you know, Groken, right? Which is, I mean, Kenneth Page is my God. You know, he's doing something else. It's cool to get that in the mail, and then it's cool to get Eric's book, Battle Brick Road. It's like it's cool to get all that. So,
absolutely, man. Let's see. A good question here from GJ wants to know, what else from Gifted Rebels can we expect?
Oh, so inside this journal, so this is a 28-page story. There's also an 8-page ash can tucked into it for Jawbone Death.
Oh man, whoa.
So this is Jason Krager, who I did the original Kill Journal with, and this is a story of an aged biker as this religious awakening and becomes this avatar of an ancient warrior who's given the jawbone of Leviathan, the ancient biblical monster, to go and stop this horde. So he's you know, he's here with his jawbone of a monster trying to stop an evil horde. And there's a little 8-page preview in this book here. There's an 8-page preview of it, and you guys are gonna be the first to see it. You're gonna get it before the world does. And that's cool something. And there's going to be my last note on this, Peter, is I wanted to throw something back, and that is inside this book there's going to be a hidden code. And I have a partner in Malaysia, a company called Gaspack. You can look up. They do NFTs and digital collectibles, etc. And so in the book there's going to be a secret code. You find the code, you enter it into the website, details will be in the book, and then you will get a digital collectible that's stamped on a blockchain that's original. It'll be an animated piece of art, and it's yours. Whatever you want to do with it, but you can even sell it on the open market. You're gonna get a something. It's kind of my way to like add a little game and give a little something back. So
that's cool. Yeah, interesting, man.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Jeez Louise. Now, before I continue to ask you a couple more questions, are you rushing off to another show? How much time do you have?
No, I'm not rushing off to another show, just to a wife and child. So I've got a minute. You tell me.
Okay. All right. Okay. So maybe an extra 10 minutes. Is that good with you?
Okay. That's fair, man.
Awesome. So I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about all the other stuff that you have been doing. So you've got obviously the Kill Journal. You're doing your campaign right now. But what else do you have going on? And I know you've got a lot of stuff going on. So let's hear it.
Yeah. So I did a book with Wesley Snipes. You know, the man who was Blade. He's rad. We did. It's called The Exile. This is one of the foil edition covers. Got Rob Willis to do it. And this is through Massive. Is the publisher? Is the name of the publisher? It used to be Whatnot, but they've rebranded. incredible book I did. That's out in retail, 5 issues out, and number 6 you should be next week in stores. And so it's been rad. If you can imagine, Peter, we've moved over 100,000 copies of this book, which is kind of crazy.
Incredible, man. That's great.
In the modern world, and I brought in some of our boys, right? So I got Rob Willis to do a cover, and then actually who did a series of covers, which I think you is our good old buddy Preston Acevedo.
Oh, very nice.
So he did a round of covers, and his covers were the number 1 selling. So I tried to. I got a cool opportunity, and I tried to throw back to all the guys who've been.
That's great.
Who've done good. Yeah, who've done good.
I want to thank you too. I want to thank you also for reaching out to me to do one, but it's just the cards weren't there. Stars weren't aligning for that, but I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
No, dude, I would love to try and get you. I know you're insanely busy with your schedule on that, but I would love to. I would love to find a way to get you to do a cover. So maybe a Killjoy cover, or I have this other book, Kids and Monsters, that I did that I crowdfunded as well, and
oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah, right. I think this is sort of your world of fun stuff, Kids and Monsters, and and this goes into retail in February, but I crowdfunded this version of the book, which is kind of cool. It's a big version, but so those are all the things that are out there in the world at the moment. There's also another book called The Eighth, which was my very, very first one. You can get that at giftedrebels.com. But these are kind of the ones that are crossing the line into figuring out some mainstream, I shouldn't say mainstream, but just retail, to try to hopefully connect with more readers. I think the bulk of readers are unfortunately not on crowdfunding platforms, but they're going into shops, and so I'm trying to hook her by crook to bring these to as many people as I can. So those are the big projects, and then and this one here with Jawbone is just right around the corner. So
nice.
I keep it busy.
Just a little bit, right? Just a little bit.
Just a little.
When you're not squeezing 25 hours out of a 24-hour day, what else are you doing, Adam?
Yeah, so I write television, and I produce TV commercials, and is my day job. And so I just finished one for Blue Moon for Coors Light. We've got a new one, new campaign going for this nut company. But I'm always got a big fat pile of commercials I'm producing, and I've had multiple television shows in development that have, unfortunately, CW, that was such a, you can imagine, somebody work on something and the company gets bought and then they throw it away. That was depressing. But I have a movie in the works, and then I guess you guys will have heard it first. Kids and Monsters just got picked up for animation rights, so that's kind of what I'm trying to get. Now, will these things come to pass? Because you've had a film made of one of your comic books. That's quite a slippery slope on from when they say let's do this to when that movie comes out. So you know that,
yeah,
right?
And there's all kinds of weird things that happen along the way.
Yes, where you are very doubtful. So that's kind of like where I'm swinging. I'm swinging on all fronts, but
that's awesome.
So
well,
Rick,
best of luck to you. Yeah, Rick wants to know if you got any digital versions of your books.
Yeah, so you can get the Kill Journal, the complete story. You can get this online as well, and if you follow my paid Substack, you get everything I do digitally, even the ones I don't release digitally on campaigns. The paid subs on my Substack, they get the Exiled, before retail gets them. You'd get Kids and Monsters, you get it all. So those are the best ways.
That's great, man. One last question, and this will probably take us to the end of the show. So, for comics and movies, there's a lot of people out there that obviously are using comics as a stepping stone to try to get into film.
Yeah.
You seem to be able to go wholeheartedly into both. Now, for me with film, it's similar to the conversation that we had earlier, where my passion and love for film is barely there in terms of, compared to comics. Comics is where I'm at. If I got something thrown my way, and I would just be like, look, sign me the check, and then let me be a consult to see, that this thing at least goes somewhat correctly. Other than that,
Yeah.
do what you got to do. For
Yeah.
you, comics and film, similarities and also differences.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest, similarity between them is they're a visual storytelling medium, right? Where you write a script that no one ever sees, right? Because it gets translated by an artist or it gets translated by a director and actors, right? So they share a great deal when it comes to thinking through how to visually share impact. Like, how do you put a panel together that says this person's sad, or this person's sad, but there's somebody coming up on to approach them to kill them, right? Like all the complexity you're trying to put into a panel, that they really share that. As you do the same thing with a moving image too, you're trying to show people things that inspire feelings versus, endless, brain dumps of dialogue or words. You're trying to show them things that inspire feelings. So that they really show. Now the difference is because movies happen in 3-dimensional space, they have tremendous physical limitations, right? And art doesn't. It's a 2-dimensional experience. So if I want to have an actor jump off a building, I have to get a human in a building and a helicopter to put a camera and all these things, or build it in CG and put them on a stage and put them on a wire, right? I have to work in real space, which is also the challenge. It's also the exciting challenge, but it's also the incredibly limiting aspect of it. And then everything is stuck at 16:9. Right? I only get one size of panel, but I can move that panel. So I think those are the starkest differences, right? And obviously there's an audio element to films that really that changes things. But with the way lettering works, you can inspire what things sound like. You can't necessarily give them that sound, which is really special. But I think at the core of that, that's the significant difference is the 2 dimensions versus the 3. Because once you have to start moving through real space, things change. It changes really fast. But it's also why I think comic books can be so brave, and you can make easy stories because you don't have to live with the realities of 3 dimensions. And that is unfortunately movies box.
And it's interesting that you frame it that way, because I think a lot of people would view film as being more limitless than a comic, other than comic book readers, of course. It's like until you become immersed in understanding what's capable within a comic, it's a pretty superior medium. And
it's really unlimited.
It really is.
It's
and
unlimited.
I think if we're seeing anyone nowadays that might feel otherwise, I think it's because we're seeing comic books be held so far back because they're trying so hard to adjust to adaptation towards film. Do you see any of that at all, or is that just me?
Yeah, no, I think you're totally right. I think I've early on in my career, there was lots of companies that were being set up that, like, we're comic book companies, but really you get behind the closed doors and they're really just movie producers, and they're like trying to get people's IP for low pricing and then like sell them to the studios and like fake that they like have an audience, and that stuff doesn't work. And it's been rooted, and most of it's been rooted out, and they've gone out of business. So I think that at the end of it is you need to authentically make either one of those things. You need to be a comic person who's authentically making a comic, because this is where you want this to live. And then it's fun if it gets just to go someplace else.
Yeah.
But if you
Yeah.
made it because you really wanted it to be here, it's just as fake. And
Yeah.
and anybody who makes movies just sees it at 100 feet is like, oh, this is a fake comic.
Yeah.
This is a fake one.
There's a poser element to it.
There's a pose element.
There's a fraudulent element to it. And that's
Yeah,
why I
and
think there's a lot of people in comics right now, and I see the conversation all the time with the comics broke me stuff, imposter syndrome, this and that. And it's like, it's because there's that part of you that knows that you're not really making a comic to make a comic. Like, this isn't the thing you want to do. Yeah, you'd rather, and if you were given the choice, what would you want to do? It's not really going to be, oh, I want to make the greatest comics the world has ever seen. I want to push the boundaries of my storytelling through the comic book medium. It's usually not going to be that answer. And I think that's why so many people are possibly feeling a bit awkward and that imposter syndrome kind of a thing.
Right. And also confused that on the other side of the gate, so to speak, for comics, on the other side of it, there isn't millions of dollars to be had. Like, they broke you outside of the gate, but on the inside of the gate, it's breaking you just as much because it's just, I work in commercial advertising. It's a $100 billion market. Comics is a $1 billion market. It is a different scope of money that can be passed around just what it is, right? Doctors are going to make more than carpenters because it's what that is. And so I think, I know there's some weird perceptions about that I agree that Peter, and it's the inauthentic nature, and there's just too much competition in both film and comics for inauthentic people to play. It's like, bro, we smelled you out like 100 miles away,
I agree. And I've seen a lot of that kind of come and go, and obviously when people are first in the space of creating anything or doing anything or working anywhere or anything whatsoever, time will tell the tale. But there are things that I see, certain things that pop up, and sometimes they happen right away, and it usually involves that and I've got them in submissions. I've literally had people in submissions pitch not the comic first and foremost, but pitch it as if it's already going to a producer to be turned into a film. This, I want you to know, this property, we've got big plans for it. We're going to turn this into a film and get it optioned, and we're going to talk to that producer and this producer, and you're half a paragraph into it and you're like, I don't even know what this is about. This is just like a pitch to say that this is going to, and it's like, stop trying to impress the producer, and don't even try to impress me. Talk about how much the story means to you and how much you're trying to impress the reader. That's what I want to see.
That's right.
Make the comic first. Love the comic first.
You got it. It's like when I look at books like Something is Killing the Children, great comic on Boom. Is it great because they sold it to a studio that they didn't? It's because they made a really authentic comic that's now gone 6 trades, and it's authentically exciting. And then if it becomes something great, or like Rick Remender's Deadly Class, might not have worked out terribly well in TV just because the place sci-fi was in. But that's an authentic book. Like, you pick that book up and you're like, Rick made this to be a comic, and it's rad. And then you can talk about something else. Same thing with Kirkman's Walking Dead. They made something authentic, and then it became. So,
that's I dig what you're doing, man. Yeah, no problem at all, brother. Great conversation tonight, and seriously, nothing but the best to you, man. The Kill Journal Complete Finch Dossier is right now on Indiegogo, and this is 10 days left, it says right there. 10 days. I'm going to do a quick refresh just in case you did get a backer during the show. Let's see. Oh, 6,720. There you go.
We got two backers. Boom.
Fantastic. Thank you guys very much. And man, all the best. And seriously, always a joy talking to you. Whenever you have anything you want to talk about, even if you want to come back and do a whole show about lettering or something, I mean,
dude,
we could do that.
I'm in.
That'll be
fun. Let me know when. I'll be here.
Yeah, always a good time talking to you, man. You're just a solid dude. You really are.
I appreciate
everybody. Everybody in the chat. Thank you guys so much for spending some time with us tonight. I'm going to be back tomorrow night at 9 o'clock Eastern with Jay from Desolate Soul Studios. He'll be on the show. Jay's a good dude. And that'll be that. I'll see you then. And Adam, once again, man, have a great night. Thank you so much for being on the show, brother.
You bet, my friend. Talk to you later.
Absolutely. Everyone have a great night.
Chat.